The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, the Bahamas is coming off a year that saw 119 homicides. In fact, the nation is now in a position of limping forward, seeking clearly defined answers. We talk about it tonight. It's also a year that saw major scandals to the very core of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. And so, with a new commissioner coming into office tomorrow, what's to be expected? Also, outgoing Commissioner of Police, Clayton Fernander, is in his last day in office, in fact, last few hours in office, as we prepare for the first female Commissioner of Police. What was this day like for him? And a little bit later, we have some hot topics to talk about all of this and a whole lot more. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, the Bahamas is limping on a year when many feel it's a year that will be filled with campaigning for the general election ahead of us in 2026. What are Bahamians to do? How are Bahamians to posture themselves in a very, very important year where they must be paying attention to everything that's being said, what's not being said, what's being done, what's not being done? We're going to talk about that this evening with Father Bradley Miller, who is the rector of All Saints Parish. Good evening to you. Happy New Year. It's good to have you join us here on Beyond the Headlines. It's always good to hear your thoughts and your views about what's happening in the nation, as you always give insight and a view of what's going on. Thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Shanique, and thank you for having me here. And Happy New Year to you and to your family. And may this year be the best year ever for you and your station.
Thank you very, very much. Absolutely. We appreciate that blessing. Coming from the Father. But listen, let's just talk about the year that was and the fact that we are now at the beginning of a new year, with major announcements having been made just a couple of days ago by the outgoing Commissioner of Police as it relates to major scandals within the organization that he still leads for the next few hours. Let's just talk about how the Bahamas left 2024 reeling, really.
Shanique, at this point now, as we embark on this new year, 2025, as we look back at 2024, as a country we had made a lot of mistakes, we had made a lot of errors, some deliberately and some undeliberately. But I believe we have an opportunity as we embark on this new year to shift the course. We are, in my view, seems to be heading in the wrong direction as a people. And so we need to shift our focus.
And the wrong direction how?
In the wrong direction, straight across the board in the country. For example, I've been a priest now for about 16 years, and I am very disturbed many times as a priest when I have to speak to parents concerning their children. It seems as if parents has just left children to themselves and not taken their kind of role to shape. Because remember, everything in the society starts from the home.
From the home, absolutely.
So if we have bad children, they go to school being bad, they're in the society, then you have a bad society. And so I want to say to parents, I want to begin with parents. As we start 2025, I want to say to parents, look, refocus your attention. Let your attention be specifically in raising your children in the nurture, in the knowledge and in the love of God. And let your children, don't tolerate slackness from your children. Good parents don't raise children to become thieves, crooks, and criminals. But when you fail to do, you just as if you were doing. And I think a lot of times we have failed as parents and God is going to hold us accountable. I always say to to parents and godparents when they come to me to have their child baptized. I say to them, look, and that's why I do the baptismal consent, because I want to let them know what they're getting into and their responsibility.
And that it's a serious one.
And it is a serious responsibility. You just don't have children and leave them to grow by themselves. So we got to start from home. That's why I begin saying with parents, we have to start with home. And I want parents to really take their position as parents seriously. Get your child in churches on Sunday. It bothers me. I'm driving on a Sunday heading to church, and I see children on the road and their bicycle and playing and running up and down. And I'm like, where are these parents? Our children don't seem to be growing up in stable homes.
No.
It doesn't seem as if there's some kind of structure or order in the home. It's just like whatever buck up goes.
It
and
really
that is the
appears to
root
be,
cause of our problem in this country.
And it is, you're absolutely right. And so in 2025, Father Miller, you are starting with a clarion call to parents.
I am starting with the family. And guess what, Shanique? As a diocese, that is our mission now. The Anglican diocese, that is the mission for this year. That is the theme for this year. And the theme for this year is Family Matters. Because we recognize that, listen, once the home is in line, then you get a good society. But when the home is broken, and the home is in chaos, and the home is in disorder, you have a dysfunctional society.
Well, the majority of the homes now in the Bahamas, are more than 70%, are led by single women.
Yes.
Single mothers. You wouldn't even call them mothers anymore, women. And that is because many of the men just dump and go, like potcakes, throwing seeds around and running off. How about you speak to the men about how important their role is, whether or not they're in a marriage or they just lay and play and then bring something forward and move on. But the fact is, they must now step up.
Yes.
Because what's happening, you see so many of these young guys and the older ones and the ones who are enticed by gangs are having this experience of not having had a male figure or a father figure in their lives.
And that is very sad. Shanique, I had a funeral a couple of weeks back. And I was informed that the guy that I buried was killed by his brother. They didn't know each other. They didn't know they were brothers. Didn't know that they were brothers. So I am calling upon fathers.
This is a few weeks ago.
This is
life in the Bahamas now.
Life in the Bahamas.
See, and that is what I'm saying. When you have men who do foolishness, and a lot of them do, Father, a lot of Bahamian men do speak to call it out, Father. I need you to toughen up. Because when you see these men go on one corner, lay and play with Jane, on the next corner, lay and play with Susie, both have kids, don't know each other, and you are saying one brother killed another and had no idea that they were even related.
Yes, had no idea. And so I'm calling upon men to take their role and their responsibility as fathers seriously. Fathers are not just someone you go there and have a child or make a baby. That is more to that than father. You have that awesome responsibility. Even if you and the woman is not together, you have that responsibility for the betterment and the welfare of that child. You should be able to communicate sensibly with the child's mother, and you all should work together for the well-being of that child. And I'm calling upon fathers to take your role. Let's stand up and be men. I said in a sermon I preached on Sunday past, when I was challenging people to stop seeing things in our country and not responding to it. And I said, if you respond to something that you see, you ain't soft, you ain't no snitch. I said, the sissy is the one who see things happening and say nothing. That's the sissy. And people took it out of context on what I said. But I was saying...
Hold on, the membership ran with that? They didn't quite understand where you were going?
But some did.
Listen, man.
But I am saying that what I am saying is...
new definition to being a sissy in the Bahamas nowadays. Stand up and show that you are a man.
Stand up and show that you are a man.
By making sure your environment, your immediate environment, is clear of all issues that will bring about 119 homicides as took place in the Bahamas in 2024.
We also have to, and you mentioned about the single mothers. I grew up at a time when there were many single mothers. Fortunately for me, I grew up in the time, growing up on the island, you were raised by the community. And so that was the benefit for many of us. So I'm saying we can still get back to that. I'm saying to neighbors, look, you see the boy, the woman is struggling with the boy. Do something. Let us do something as neighbors. Let's just not ignore it and say, well, that's not my business. My child is in the house, so I ain't worried about nothing. Let's talk to these children. I find out that when you talk to them, they will listen.
Sometimes that's all they need.
That's
what's
all
been
they need.
missing.
Sometimes it's just somebody
I'll
to
tell you,
talk to.
we certainly don't want a repeat of last year. We certainly don't want in the region, it's not this is not synonymous to the Bahamas. The region is buckling under this crime issue. In Trinidad and Tobago, for example, they are now under a state of emergency. And what is so wild about that is just days after they enforced that, the last day of the year, an attorney was in church speaking about the state of emergency, walked out with his family out of church. He was in church speaking about the state of emergency, why it's necessary, etc. And he walked out of church and was gunned down.
Wow.
A few hours before the new year, Trinidad and Tobago in the month of December recorded 641, I believe it is, homicides. They are in a state of emergency. But the Bahamas obviously must follow suit. There's been renewed calls for capital punishment, for stricter enforcement of what's already on the books. What is it that we have to do in terms of stemming this flow of crime in the nation in 2025 and beyond?
In 2025, I deliberately did that. I started with the family because I believe that's where it all started.
It does.
Now let's come to the society. All of us have a role in this society to play. We must stop sitting by and do nothing. We see things, we do nothing. We see things happen and nobody's saying nothing. We need to stand. I'm calling upon men and women to stand. We need courageous people. We need courageous politicians who not just toe in the fence, who not just toe in the political line, but politicians and who are serious about fixing the situation that need to be fixed. Because a lot of these things could be fixed with a stroke of a pen. But we don't have the political will because we live in a society where we want to be popular. I say to people, in Christianity is not a popularity contest.
It isn't.
You are not called to be popular. Jesus was not a popular man. That's why they killed him. Because he was doing all the things that was going contrary to what they believed was right. And he saw things going wrong, and he had to address the things that he seen go wrong, and it cost him his life. So we all have a responsibility. I'm calling upon school teachers to be responsible and act accordingly with the children in your school. I'm calling upon community leaders. Let us act responsibly. Let us not just, this is our country. We don't have no place to go. We don't have nowhere to turn. I don't know, other people may have other places they can go run to and live. I don't have any other place to live. I want to live, I want to leave this country better when I pass on for my children and grandchildren. And the only way that can happen is all of us have a role to play in this part.
Still, absolutely.
All of us have a role.
Absolutely.
We cannot say that's the police problem. We cannot say that's the church's problem. We cannot say that's the government problem. The government don't have any children. The church don't raise children. The police have children of their own, and they're responsible for their children. So all of us have a role to play.
We all do.
So we need for everybody to stop and let's get back on track. Let's not take no, and I'm going to make it as simple as well, let's stop taking foolishness. Let's stand for something. Let's call. When we see something, let us say something. For too long, we have been silent. You know, when you are silent, you are misleading other people, you know.
Silence gives consent.
Silence gives consent. To be silent is to mislead other people. I always have to say to people, when you see something and you don't say something, remember when your time comes, you go want someone to say something. That's the measuring stick you will get. You didn't say nothing when it was my time, but when it's your time, somebody else ain't gonna say nothing. But we need to get serious in our country.
You're calling on every Bahamian and stop looking at the person you elected. Yeah, they have a role, and we will certainly explore that role throughout this year. They do have a role, but what is your role? You're neglecting the person in the mirror, you're saying.
I was having a conversation with Carlton Smith. I'm sure you don't mind me calling his name, outside the church on Sunday. And we were having this conversation. He said, I was saying, but what can we do to fix some of these systemic problems that we have in our country? I know he said something very interesting to me. He said, look, we may be looking at the politician to fix it. They ain't gonna fix it. We gonna have to fix it. But you know how we gonna have to fix it? We must first realize that we are Bahamians first.
Come together.
And not PLP, no FNM.
Yeah, come together.
We have to first become Bahamians and recognize this is my country. And I want to see my country, this little country, the best country in the world that we always like to boast about. But we can't boast that and see these things happening and we do nothing when the country's going down the wrong path.
Turn a blind eye. I tell you, Father Miller, we certainly, of course, are very hopeful, mindful and prayerful about the start of this year because we don't want a repeat of last year. The Bahamas took a hit. Families did, certainly. Communities did, but the nation did as well.
Right.
And with the bad press, if you remember, the international media were
Yes.
all through our streets as a result of the level of crime that started last year, and certainly we hope not to have that. Inflation is another thing that continues to persist. We are hoping to see, I guess, with a shift even in the American administration now, to see a shift in that, and hopefully that is stemmed somewhat and begins to subside. The prices at the checkout counter and everywhere else, the fact that many Bahamians, are saying the cost of living is too high. Attaining a piece of the rock it has become so unattainable. People just can't even find apartments to rent. You talk about buying a home. And so the thing is, all of these are issues that obviously must somehow be addressed and regulated so that the average Bahamian can find their place in a nation like ours. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about how do Bahamians in 2025 find themselves in an ever-evolving, growing, expanding Bahamas and Bahamian economy that looks so different than it did just 10 years ago. How do Bahamians step up to this new expectation and redefine themselves and find themselves in it? We're going to take a break. This is Beyond the Headlines. We're back right after this.
You work hard to provide for and protect the ones you love. However, life can present unexpected challenges. Who you call in times of need matters. Insurance Management is a Bahamian-owned company that has been serving our community for over 40 years, offering a wide range of coverage for all of your personal, professional, and commercial needs. When life happens, rest easy knowing that our skilled and experienced agents are there for you in your time of need, so that you can get back to what matters most. Insurance Management. Nobody does it better.
What? You don't know what TDC is? Tourism Development Corporation?
You mean the Ministry of Tourism?
No, that ain't the same thing, but the Tourism Development Corporation helps to develop and grow Bahamian businesses in the tourism industry. You heard what they say, boy?
Oh, yeah.
Develop and grow. You don't know what all the things they do?
What does do?
Hey, check the website, boy.
Start your journey to ownership of our #1 industry today. Log on to tdcbahamas.com.
Cashmas time, here we go. Mercy's doing it big this year. Cashmas time with extra chair. 12 days of merry winnings from your friends at Island Bay. Friends we trust, hey we know. Cashmas time, here we go. Prizes and lots of dough. This Christmas, come catch a lick with 20 on your account. Quick, and you can win some awesome stuff at Percy's Island Bay. Yeah.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madera Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay Eden well.
This segment of Beyond the Headlines is brought to you by EV Motors. Drive the future with brand new 2024 electric vehicles. EV Motors, powering your journey.
We're getting the year started here on Beyond the Headlines on a sober tone, or with a sober tone. My guest this evening is Father Bradley Miller. He is the pastor, rector of All Saints Parish there in the South Beach area, and just getting sort of some perspective along with some spiritual guidance on where we as a people need to be looking and headed and our posture for 2025. This is day two. Day two of 365. A lot of amazing things can happen if our heads are on right and our focus is right. You heard Father Miller say that, listen, this all starts in 2025 with the family. No ifs, ands, or buts, no negotiation, no debate. The family must step up and start parenting. You parents must start being parents. Well, many people have said and are preparing and are prepared for the fact that the election season, the campaign season has started. Of course, we know election is scheduled for 2026, but persons expect that on January 2nd, today, that the election season officially started. Father Miller, when it comes to that, the general election, and of course, you know how we do elections, I guess, in the region, in the Bahamas, where should Bahamians' mindsets and focus be?
I want to begin by saying this, Shanique. I want to say this to Bahamians. Politics is about who you think can govern best, full stop. That's all politics is, who you think can govern best. So as you say, the season is about to start, or may have already been started. You have persons coming around from various groupings, individuals, and they will be soliciting persons to vote. One of the things that have been happening to us over the last, I think about maybe 15 years, what has been happening, even though we don't have a system like the United States where we have been voting, where the United States where they vote for the president, it seems as if that has been happening in the Bahamas. So what has been happening is, if you were the leader of a party and I'm the leader of another party, and they want to get rid of me, everyone that is on your side, they're just going to vote for you because they want to get rid of me. So even though I may have some good persons on my side who probably might have been, who can and probably would be good representative, but because of me, they would vote for you. And so that has been creating a problem for us. And so you notice we have been just shifting from one side, going to the next with these large margins. And that has not been helpful for democracy.
Has it been helpful also for that sort of back and forth every 5 years? Has that been helpful? And when I say that, I mean many people feel like what can be done? What are Bahamians doing and thinking about when perhaps an administration can do more in 10 years or 2 terms versus this 1 term when they're just sort of finding their rhythm?
Yeah, I don't think that has been helpful, really, to be honest with you. I don't think it's been helpful for us. But even with that, I believe, and we probably need to really stop talking about this and get to it, the national plan, because the national plan will lay out the vision or the plan for our country. All the administration will do, come in and supervise that plan and carry out the plan. So it would not probably be too much damage, if you change every 5 years, but you got to make sure that you have a national plan and whoever comes in, keep that plan. But the problem is we don't have a plan. So you have your plan. I have my plan. So when you come in and you do work in your plan and you get beat, now I come in and change the whole dynamic. And that has not been helpful to our country. I want to challenge people, though, this year to think, look at the issues. Stop voting on personalities. Stop voting on mommy was PLP or mommy was F&M, so I'm F&M all my life. You have a mind of your own. You can think independent. You have to look at the issues that are facing our country, look at what the candidates is offering, question them, ask them, what are your views on this? What is your views on that? And then you make a formal decision. But you cannot make a formal decision without the information. A lot of people want to make formal decisions without information. And the information is you have to pull it out of them. You have to ask, you are offering yourself for my community. Tell me what is your vision for this community, for the community. Don't tell me nothing but, oh, we want to do this, or we want to do that. And you know that's not impossible. And politicians, I call them to be honest with people. Stop promising people lies.
Stop promising
and you
the
know
world.
It's not true. Be honest with people. There's certain things you know that you cannot do. But yet you promise people you're going to do this, and you know it can't happen.
How about looking at a candidate's track record when they come to you, knowing and insisting about and asking questions about what is your track record? What have you done? What have you been involved with?
But that should be helpful, because you should have some kind of track record or something, even if you never ran before, you should have something that I can go by, that's something you can say that, look,
you've been involved with.
I've been involved in this Kiwanis, I'm a member in this church, I'm leading this, or I'm doing this. There's something that shows that you have leadership potential. You just can't come to me and ask me your vote because you're on this side of the fence or the other side of the fence. We need people, Shanique, I trust that all of these political parties, we need people who love this country more than their politics. I find out that, and I heard someone say this before, politicians are only looking for some donkey to ride to the finish line. And I find out that that would appear to be. Because people always, you hear people say, look, I gotta have access to Shanique before she got elected. Since she got elected, I can't get Shanique. The phone number always go in the voicemail. And why is that so? Why?
But also, though,
people?
I want a politician who is going to go there and actually put in the policies and what it is so that Shanique wins. No, I don't need to have your number. I just feel we need to get out of that, because imagine, and I know there's a different political system, but what I'm saying is people in the United States expect their governors, senators, congressmen, president to make decisions and have policies that will benefit their lives, improve their quality of life, and make life great. That is what they expect. Should not we expect the same thing? I don't need to be calling, I don't need to be trying to call you to say, hey, the garbage ain't collected. No, it should be such a wonderful flow and system in place that we don't have this issue.
Yeah, but I think we have developed
a dependency.
The dependency syndrome.
The dependency, pandering, all of that.
Way back, and so, I listen to talk shows sometimes, and there's sometimes a little simple thing in the community. People say, oh, the Prime Minister, you need to call the Prime Minister. And I'm going to call the Prime Minister for what?
I agree.
That's not his job. But we need to elect people who are going to stay focused.
And who are going to help to mature this public.
Right, and be this mature, and stop just towing the line, man. If it's wrong, it's wrong, I guess everybody trying to save their skin and everybody trying to protect themselves from their jobs or save their job, and nobody want to be honest and nobody want to be open. But we need honest people. We need people who want to be honest, people with integrity, people who would call it for what it is, people who will stand up when they need to stand, who will stand for the people. You are elected by the people. You're not elected by the governing party or the leader of that governing party. You are elected by the people of your constituents. And you have a duty and a responsibility to those constituents.
To serve them.
You have to make sure that you do all in your powers to see that your constituency that you represent have the necessary thing that is needed. Decent parks for the children to play, fire station, library, school,
safe
and all
communities.
of these other things, and the community is safe.
And wholesome communities, I agree. Listen, the Bahamas has become, all over really, even the various far-flung islands have become more of a fast-paced, evolving nation with opportunities just right at our fingertips. Many family islands in particular, like Eleuthera and Exuma and one or two others, and of course, New Providence, how should Bahamians posture themselves in 2025 to not sit and complain, not sit and be prepared just to beg and look for a handout, but to be players in this economy, in this burgeoning country of ours, and to make life good for them and their families?
Yeah. Well, the opportunities are out there, and opportunities will be coming. I think Bahamian people need to move away from that. Either somebody has to do it for us, or move away from depending on the politicians to do it. There are a lot of things that people can do for themselves. I saw something on Facebook or something the other day where there were some folks in Acklands, I think. It was a bad piece
No, you
of
saw it on,
road.
excuse me, you saw it on this show. Don't
on this show.
Don't play around.
Oh, okay.
Don't play around with me.
I know it's something I saw, but
Yes.
the point I want to make is these people decided,
it was on social media as well, but
we're
you saw
not
it
going to
here.
wait for the government to fix this road because it looked like it's taking forever. So they decided
Yes, they did.
whatever they had to do to make their lives or make the road more smoother for them to drive. And so
In fact, that was Mayor Guana, and with the assistance of the I Group, they went and they patched up their roads.
Right. So Bahamians, I'm calling upon Bahamians in this new year to take advantage of things. Stop waiting for someone to do something for you. Ain't nothing will fall in your lap. You have to get out there. You have to work hard. You have to push. You have to save. You have to do whatever your dream is and work towards your goal. Whatever that goal is that you have set out, work towards that goal in 2025.
Father Miller, I thank you very much. Such wonderful sage advice for the start of this new year that's needed, that paints really a nice path for all of us to walk in. Of course, we look forward to more discussions with you in the months ahead, but thank you very much for stopping by on this sort of first official show of 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shanika. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Happy New Year to you once again.
Same to you.
Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to get into some other stories. For example, outgoing Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernandez talking about the arrest, questioning, and release of Michael Johnson and the attorney connected with that matter as well. And also, it is his final few hours as Commissioner of Police. What was that like today? We talk about it coming up.
It's the most luckiest time of the year. There'll be dreams that are spinning and cash prizes winning. Just Big Bang is here. It's the most luckiest time. Yes, the most luckiest time. Oh, the most luckiest time of the year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Island Luck.
Time of the year.
Tired of driving around from place to place just to get your car insured and licensed? Frustrated with the process of being back and forth from your insurance company to road traffic? Well, BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers just made insuring and licensing your motor vehicle as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1. Visit us at the Road Traffic Department, Section 1, Thomas A. Robinson Sports Stadium. At our office, you can purchase or renew your insurance or get your vehicle inspected. We at BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers represent major carriers. Step 2. See the professionals at Road Traffic to get your vehicle licensed. Step 3. Enjoy your day. Insure with BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers today, saving you time and money. Your one-stop shop for all of your insurance needs. Great rates, convenient, excellent service. For more information, call us at 322-2221.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
Hi. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. That's people peeping in and saying hello, so I'm saying hello back. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. We are going to jump into some hot topics. Of course, you know the police really continues, beginning the first of 2025, making headlines, and that continues. Among the headlines, of course, is the fact that former Chief Superintendent of Police in charge of the Criminal Investigation Department, Michael Johnson, has tendered his resignation. That information came out. You saw the headlines. He is now resigned from the Royal Bahamas Police Force. But a few days ago, at the New Year's Day Junkanoo Parade, outgoing Commissioner of Police, Clayton Fernandez, talked about the fact that Johnson and the attorney, Beyond Ferguson, whose voices were heard on some voice notes that went viral earlier in 2024, were taken in for questioning or taken into custody. Not sure how into custody, that's how he phrased it. They were questioned and then released. We're going to begin right there. But first, before we do that, here's Jose Etienne.
It's not just the voice note. It goes beyond just the voice note.
Outgoing Police Commissioner Clayton Fernandez suggesting that leaked audio recordings that purportedly capture alleged conversations between former head of the Criminal Investigations Department Michael Johnson, a local attorney, and an alleged gang leader Michael Fox Jr., which sparked an investigation, could be the tip of the iceberg. Fernandez did not say what else the investigation yielded, except to say that more officers, and not just Johnson, could be criminally connected to that probe.
As we probe during the investigation, we find that a number of other officers were implicated in the matter. I know it's more than 4 or 5 officers.
The outgoing police chief making those comments as he also revealed that Johnson was taken into custody.
About 2 to 3 weeks ago, he was arrested and questioned in reference to the incident, and he was released pending further inquiries.
Authorities also reportedly had a word with the implicated attorney.
He was also arrested and questioned in reference to the matter.
Meantime, Johnson's resignation that was revealed on New Year's Eve did not sit well with residents who took to social media to argue that he should have been discharged. But here's what Fernandez wants residents to consider.
That's his right.
Fernandez's comments about the investigation's scope being broader than initially revealed are critical, given that aggrieved relatives who told local media about their knowledge of the audio recordings argue that the brutal killings of 3 men last year could be connected to the probe. Those 3 men are Fox Jr., Dino Smith, and Oral Roberts, 3 of 4 suspects in a $1 million heist that happened in November 2023. Last year, Smith was gunned down in January. Months later, Fox was similarly killed in May, and Roberts met his fate in July, just steps away from his Fox Hill residence. It's alleged that the conversations in the leaked audio recordings were about a potential quid pro quo arrangement that would have given Johnson and the attorney thousands of dollars in bribe payments in exchange for Fox Jr. and his alleged accomplices getting immunity for their alleged roles in that major theft crime. Authorities seemingly kept their word on the investigation as they promised to complete it by year's end. The ball is now in the court of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Cordell Frazier, to make recommendations.
It's in the hands of the DPP, and I can't speak to what time, and I hope that it will be in a good, reasonable time.
Well, there you have the commissioner explaining exactly what took place. Of course, it's all pending, but something interesting that he said, and that was the fact that it's come to light that other officers may be involved, or perhaps their names came up, and we expected that. I mean, we don't think that what is being alleged and out there in the public space through that indictment, well, actually, I'm talking about several things. It is just so much. My God, the police force had a lot on its plate in 2024. We are talking about the Michael Johnson case that had to do with that whole heist that took place, and as a result, you all know exactly how that played out in 2024. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, our contributor Ellington Ferguson. Ellington, that case obviously will begin to reveal more this year in 2025. You heard the commissioner say that Johnson, the information has come out that he has resigned, but they were taken into questioning, him and the attorney, Beyond Ferguson, whose voices were heard on those voice notes that really started this whole domino effect for the Royal Bahamas Police Force.
Yeah, it's a very, again, continues to be a tragic thing for the police force. As the outgoing Commissioner of Police stated, I think the public kind of anticipated this with the telling voice notes that were out there. It's hard to see that this could have gone any other way. I must commend the outgoing Commissioner of Police when there were a lot of doubts and shadows cast as to whether or not he and the police force could have led a fair investigation into this. The public really was outcrying for it, and yes, we wanted justice. We wanted to be able to see that transparency was done. Based on what we see so far, obviously a thorough investigation was carried out to the point where the outgoing Commissioner of Police stated that other officers were also implicated.
Yeah,
so obviously in this investigation there were no stones left unturned, and he said that he hoped that he hand the information into the incoming person that is going to be responsible for investigating that, and he hoped that in short order they would bring forth what the findings are. And so this is a good outcome, and kudos to the outgoing Commissioner of Police for a job well done in this investigation.
You know, it took a while to get to this point. Persons expected things to play out like it does on Matlock, just like this, once it was all revealed, and it was revealed that, hey, former Chief Superintendent Johnson was somehow involved in this matter, and the attorney. But I guess the Royal Bahamas Police Force intentionally took its time. Of course, the public had a right to perhaps continue agitating and asking for more, just to ensure that accountability and transparency was also accompanied the investigation. But it shows, though, that the investigation was ongoing, and we sort of needed to give the process a chance.
Absolutely, Shanique. See, investigations like this involving a high-profile officer of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, you want to take your time, and when you're going to call people's name on this level of criminality, you want to take your time and ensure that you cross all T's and dot all I's with people's name being called, and to place such an officer, a career officer, before the courts. You don't want to do sloppy police work and then the whole case fall apart. And so again, these things takes time to look into and deep process without any kind of meddling. And obviously, it's obvious that we didn't have no meddling in it. The chips are beginning to fall where they may. So yes, they done a thorough. And these things do take time. Too many times in the past that we've put cases before the court where it was very likely that the persons may have been guilty, but because of improperly gathering of evidence, the case fall apart. And so the Commissioner of Police made sure that that didn't happen in this instance.
What do you think this, and we're gonna hear in a minute how perhaps in this report by Linton Ritchie about the Commissioner of Police and his tenure and how that looked and everything that played out, even in just from almost the beginning of last year to right until this very moment, we're still talking about it. Of course, he demits office officially in a few hours on Friday, and the incoming commissioner, of course, will take the position officially, Shanta Knowles. But you know what? Let's just hear this report from Linton first, and then we'll come back and talk about what his legacy looks like and how this impacts that release. Your thoughts about his performance, your thoughts about him being saddled, I mean, my God, just before resigning, saddled with, I mean, one scandal after the next, one misstep after the next, one police officer being hauled before the courts after next, stealing and alleged, well, we saw the Tiffin happen, but stealing and alleged sexual assaults, and then it just goes up from there.
I think he had a very illustrious and colorful career. He talked about coming in as a local constable, and I climbed the ladder in the police force. He's done a stellar job as a police officer, and to be commended to reach to the top of Commissioner of Police. I think his time as Commissioner of Police have been a very interesting one. I don't lay at his feet a crime problem. I think he have done a stellar job, he and his officers, in detecting crime, bringing the perpetrators to court. Is only what happens after there, which speak to the break in our whole judicial system, a broken system. My thing is, though, again, and I don't accredit no wrongdoing to former Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernando. I don't see any of that. I don't speak of no corruption to his part. But apart from all of that, I think too many things began to occur as it relates to corruption within the force itself, where senior men from top to bottom, local officers, senior officers were all involved in some kind of, whether it be a rape or thievery or some kind of scandal. And because of the fact that it happened under his watch is where his resignation was asked for, rightfully so. And so that is the only thing that would kind of not good for the end of his tenure, but it doesn't speak to his level of policing, his good knowledge as a police. I think he's done well as it relates to crime in detecting and arresting criminals.
And we have discussed what the new commissioner will have on her plate. But let's just talk about, the fact that as a woman, that certainly should not be how she leads. As the first woman even, that should not be how she sort of walks in a room or leads with that in still what is predominantly a male, very, very patriarchal organization.
I think this is a very interesting time for incoming Commissioner of Police Shanta Knowles to step onto the stage when women have been asking for their place in this world and to asking for equality. I don't expect her to come in as, or I don't look at her as a female. I look at her now as the Commissioner of Police. I expect her to execute the duties of the Commissioner of Police. She's coming in on a stage where there's a lot of work to be done within her force itself. I think, and let me go back even to when Clayton Fernando was Commissioner of Police, he called on the authorities in a number of occasions, be it the legislators, officials, or the judiciary, to look at how we deal with these criminal matters. And I think Shanta Knowles is going to need that support from both the legislators and the judiciary as to what happens with these criminals when the police find them, catch them, and put them before the courts. We've got to change the way we do these things. We've got to be more radical. I believe, based on Shanta Knowles' record, that she's up to the task, and I believe that she's going to have a good support of officers behind her. And I hope that they allow her to work with people that she is comfortable with working with, close to her, and not just spoon feed her certain people.
So you're saying that she should be able to choose her executive team?
I really think she should be allowed to do that. I think she'd come up through the force. She know the men and women. She knows some who she thinks are shady, and I don't think they may be good people in light of the political directorate. I don't think they should saddle her with those people, allow her to have a say or the main say in choosing certain officers to work right around her. I think she should be allowed to do that.
Very interesting. Good point as well. So Ellington, of course, everyone considers this right. In fact, today, to be, and people think the campaign season started last year, but certainly today, everybody has been saying, listen, 2025, January 2nd out the gate is the official start in the lead up to 2026. How do you expect this to shape up and look? And what does the administration, that the sitting administration, need to do starting right now to regain maybe the trust, the attention, the appeal of the Bahamian people, and appeal to the Bahamian people again, if they've lost that?
I think one of the things is critical for this government, and they found themselves in a hard place unnecessarily so. They have got to ensure now that the Bahamian people feel them. Right now, for the most part, the average Bahamian do not feel the government. Okay, the government may have been doing some things on a larger scale, on an international scale, some of which may come home to bear fruit later on. But right now, as it is, people do not feel the government. The government need to pay close attention to what it is people are saying and not dismiss it because some opposition or...
I think it's that dismissive attitude that has hurt them a bit.
That is exactly what is hurting them. And especially in cases where the opposition kind of jump on that on the wagon, where people are crying about certain things and the opposition say it, and so the government will dismiss it as opposition mischief. I think you've got to be careful of that. That can cause you the motive, because if the opposition echo whatever people is saying. While yes, they are the opposition and they will do what they got to do, you need to make sure that you have your ear on the ground, you're listening to the people, you're doing things that reach people, that you're paying attention to the cry of people for houses, people for jobs, people that have issues that need to be dealt with in this country. There are a lot of issues. I know a lot, we've been touting the amount of tourist arrival, but that is not bearing the fruits that you think that it is bearing, okay? Because the majority of what you're touting that makes up those arrival with all these new ships that we have coming here is cruise passengers, which does not impact the economy as it would had it been on overnight tourists. And so the government got to pay attention. The government got to bring all of its focus now home. In this year, this election runs 2026, they've got to bring their attention home. We've got to kind of win that international stuff, all of that environmental, global warming stuff. That's not going to bear fruits right now. And so we need to come home, pay attention to home.
Many people feel as though the opposition F&M did not resonate or do a good job at resonating in 2024. What do they need to do to change that narrative in 2025?
I think the opposition, they are now almost ready to reap the benefits, if the Progressive Liberal Party doesn't come through this year, of the default position. And they kind of getting motivated on the default position. But I think what they really needs to do, they really needs to begin to, apart from critiquing the government all the time, they need to put forth a message, put forth a plan, let the people see what an alternative government in the Free National Movement would look like, what an alternative government is going to bring to the table. What could we expect from, and don't just give us general statements like they always do. And I say they, I mean all of them. Give us general statement, we will change this, we will do that. Explain when you say you're going to do something, how you're going to do it, how it's going to be done. Give the Bahamian people timeline. Give us a clear plan. That is what we're lacking in this country. A clear plan as to where we're headed, where this country is going. And this is what Pintard and the Free National Movement has got to do going forward, rather than waiting on the default position of the failure of the sitting government.
And where's the COI in all of this?
COI has got a tremendous amount of work to do. I know they ratified some candidates. Again, Bahamian people don't know these people. We've seen when they ratify them, we don't know them. How much do we see them in this community? Can they mount a campaign to get in all these communities and really make themselves relevant? Can the candidates become believable and acceptable to the Bahamian public? Have the Bahamian, even though they have released these candidates, have the Bahamian people warm up to them? Have they accepted them? Are they looking at these candidates? Do anybody in these constituencies remember any of the names of these candidates? Are they working these constituencies? You cannot wait, if you want to be a viable third party, to 2026 when the campaign trail get hot and the PLP and the F&M put all out, and then you to try to go all out. No, you coming from way back. You should have already been all out. You should have already been started. And we don't see that from the named candidates from the COI. So they're going to be fighting an uphill battle to even become. Of course, they might garner some votes. There are a tremendous amount of people that disillusioned with both the Progressive Liberal Party and the PLP. And I'm seeing people from all walks of life, and that's going to give them some numbers, whether they become a spoiler or left or right.
Interesting. Now, of course, we started tonight's show with Father Bradley Miller. He says 2025 has got to start with sort of a come to Jesus moment with families, that families and parents in particular must begin parenting, take their responsibilities seriously if we are to change the course of this nation, especially as it relates to the social ills that we have seen last year, and including the murder rate. Your thoughts?
Accept all tiers of society, the church, the government, civil society, and even corporate society. Recognize this deficit in the family in this country. Recognize what the fruits of this deficit of the family is bearing in the midst of us. We will be further doomed. And Father Bradley is just so correct. Except we go and begin to energize, re-strengthen, and renew our efforts towards family building, family values. That's where everything stems from. The family, when our families are falling apart, our nation will consequently fall apart. But when the family unit is secured and the values, that's another thing. Our values, our value system, we have to revisit. We have to look at where we headed, what we want to be. Are we want to be just like them? Do we want everything that we see our neighbors to the north and south and everywhere around us do? Do we want to abandon our values and just take up from the rest of the world? We need to make these decisions. And he's so right. We need to take that posture this year. And I hope that the government will take a deliberate attempt, a deliberate and decisive attempt to pull churches together, to pull civic groups together and begin to have this conversation and all year long so that we can begin to turn around the trajectory of where we were going as a country.
Absolutely necessary, so necessary. I mean, El Salvador has done it from going with a murder rate a year, in 1 year, 1 12-month cycle of over 6,000 to last year, just 114. It's tremendous what the president there, I cannot pronounce his name, but I want to talk further about him, what he's been able to do in El Salvador. We see Trinidad and Tobago taking major steps, a state of emergency because of their crime problem. And so, yeah, you're right. If addressing the family and strengthening that unit is a part of our solution, then it must be given the attention that it deserves.
Absolutely.
Yes, Ellington, thank you so much. Happy New Year.
It's been a pleasure. Happy New Year to everybody out there.
Absolutely.
Let's
Happy New Year to you. Welcome back, guys. Officially, well, we've been here all along. I hope you all have been hanging out with us for the entire holiday season. But listen, welcome back. Certainly, 2025, let's go get it. Let's do amazing things. Believe in yourself, step forward, and also make some demands as well of yourself and your elected officials. Meantime, we're going to continue bringing you the conversations that matter, the topics and the discussions that help you build a more wholesome life, a holistic life, right here in the Bahamas. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We certainly enjoyed having you along, and we look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.